Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to Honeybee U. I am Samantha Hallbrook, owner, operator, beekeeper, shaman of Honeybee U, and I am so happy you're here today. I want to talk about this winter with my bees, with the energy and what's going on. So, this year we implemented the bee bed, which was absolutely remarkable. It's so much fun. And what it is it is a hive, a Langstroth, a long lang, essentially. It's a Langstroth, I'm gonna say that too many times. It's a hive that runs horizontal, and it'll hold 2 colonies separated by a divider board in the middle. 27 deep frames will fit into this on each side for each hive, right? And it has planks on top of the frames that sit like the inner cover would, so to speak, and you lay, as a human, you lay on top of these planks, and you can experience the heat, the energy, the vibration, the sound of the bees underneath you through little holes we have that are screened over with it's like, oh goodness, like screen door netting, kind of, right? So you're getting that smell, you're getting the heat, the vibration, the sound, all of that is coming up. And then it's got a lid so it closes like a tanning bed. And it's absolutely phenomenal. It is so cool to experience. And I ran into a couple problems this fall. So originally we had decided to place the bee bed at the back of the apiary facing the opposite direction of the existing hives. And the reason for this was that I wanted to create an energetic sphere, so to speak, and the bees would exit and be facing away from the center so that we could have meditation circles or tea inside of this very potent energy circle or square that we created with the beehives. Now, this was also a more shaded area underneath some big, beautiful trees at the apex of some trees lining up, and it energetically was a really beautiful space. But we had chosen that location. I had chosen that location because the heat that's generated by the bees, if somebody's meditating or experience a bee bed immersion session, which is what we created this for, I didn't want them to overheat in the summertime. So we put it a little bit further into the shade, or where it gets more shade underneath those trees. This was great. However, once we got the bees installed, like, this thing is so heavy, you guys. It's incredibly heavy. We put it on caster wheels, locking caster wheels, so that we could literally roll it onto the trailer to move it from where we built it over to the apiary. And then when the ground freezes, that way we could move it again out of the shade and into the sunshine so that the bees were getting that warmth during the day. So we get the bee bed moved on the trailer from the location where we built it to the apiary. We get it unloaded. It's fucking heavy. It's so heavy. And we are placing it again so the entrances are facing away from the other existing hives. What we ended up having happen after we installed the bees is that the bees were coming out of the entrance and flying the opposite direction. So they were coming around the hive, either the side, the top, or underneath, to fly the opposite direction, the direction that the other existing hives are facing. So next year, we're definitely going to turn it around and adjust that a little more. What else happened is that there's so much space underneath the hive body and the ground that it's getting immense air movement underneath and around it. And this fall, it actually was way too cold for the hives that were installed in there. So one hive absconded, and one hive almost froze to death. By the time the weather was nice enough for me to check them, they only had 2 frames of bees left. So I went ahead and transferred those bees into a Langstroth hive in the sun with leftover frames of honey from the absconded hive. Filled them in. They're doing okay for right now. So this fall, the bees, they didn't do well. They didn't do well. So next year, I'm definitely thinking about moving them back into Langstroth hive instead of trying to overwinter them in the bee bed. But we'll see how that works out. I also had put internal feeders into the bee bed, and that seemed to work really well as far as feeding goes. What I didn't like about it is that I had to open the hive in order to feed them. And the lid, so to speak, of the tanning bed lid, so to speak, once that's opened, all of that excess heat that the bees had stored in there, that's immediately gone because of those ventilation holes I created. So I need to find out a way to better insulate the bee bed for next year if I plan on overwintering them or leaving them in there through the fall, because even the fall is a little bit too cold. So yeah, I would like to show you guys some pictures and kind of explain more how that is, but it's a really cool idea. Absolutely love the framework and the idea behind it. You can find free plans online to build one yourself. It is pretty intensive. You have to have some tools, but if I can do it, you can do it. It's really, really incredible. I'm definitely going to put the bees back in it this spring and try to see if I can't get them to stay. Maybe keep them in the heat, in the sunshine a little more, but we'll see how that goes. What else happened? Let's see, we did the thermal mite treatments before we moved them into the bee bed, so they should have been treated for mites. They should be good for the winter, the ones that made it. That should not be a problem, but that is definitely something I'm concerned about as well. Am I going to have to move these bees into a Langstroth hive to treat them for mites in the summer, 3 times a summer? Spring, summer, fall. That seems a little bit extensive. I don't know what my options are otherwise, because I definitely have been on, to that extreme of treatment free, and it did not work for me. It did not support the bees and their well-being as much as I would have loved it to. It just wasn't gonna work out. And moving forward, it's not an option for me because I've seen the devastation that happens for treatment free, at least in our area. So we'll see what goes on there. I definitely don't want to add any chemicals or pesticides to my hives. That's one of my main things that I tell people, like, our hives are chemical free. We introduce no additional chemicals into the hive. So if I decide to do that for a portion of my hives, I don't feel comfortable saying we're chemical free anymore. So we'll see what happens there. Otherwise, as far as maintenance goes for this winter, I did install winter patties into all of my hives, and I did get shims for my hives, which I need to put on there, and that just is going to create that extra space for those winter patties so that they fit a little bit better. The bees have a little more room to move around and eat on those. And then I also do granulated sugar on top of the inner cover, and that helps with moisture. We have had in the past mold and too much moisture, water condensation in our hives from over insulation and not enough airflow. So that sugar on the top acts as a desiccant, something like that, where it absorbs the water, so we don't have those condensation issues. And then worst case scenario, the bees can eat that extra sugar off the top should they need to in the late winter, early spring. I also am still doing the CDs that have the frequencies, those healing frequencies, with the crystals on top. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the Healing Bees CDs with the crystal quartz generators on top of them, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go flip through some of my other videos. That's a really, really cool conversation to have, one worth checking out, just as far as that supporting your hives from an energetic standpoint and doing more of that pre-care instead of post-care, being more, ready than responsive. So that's how the fall/winter's going so far. I hope you guys are having an excellent season. Let me know down below in the comments what you're doing to take care of your hives this year.